this is attorney Sarah Holmes from Holmes Business Law PC, and today we wanted to tell you the top employment policies you must consider implementing now. So one of the big ones right now, given COVID and what's happened over the last year and a half, is a sick time policy. So the last thing you want right now is to have workers return to work or, be working into the future and not have a really good sick time policy. You don't want workers showing up sick. A few years ago, people would have thought nothing about going to work with a severe cold, sometimes even flu. I have certainly worked in places in the past where people felt like because of the culture and the demands of the job that they had to go to work sick, even like really bad sick. So you certainly don't want your employees showing up sick and infecting everyone else. And then now potentially, given COVID, could that even subject you to liability if you're kind of forcing your employees to show up sick? So number one would be implementing some kind of sick time policy, a sick time statement. Depending on your local laws, you can decide whether you want that to be paid or unpaid, but you should definitely at least have a statement that tells employees, look, if you're sick, we want you to stay home, don't be here and infect the rest of the staff. All right, number two, you may want to consider some type of policy around COVID vaccinations. Like, do you want to insist that your employees are vaccinated? Do you want to tell them it's okay to not be vaccinated, but they have to wear a mask or they have to take certain precautions? That's up to you as an employer. There's some other legal considerations you might want to consider around that. We have some other videos discussing employers and COVID vaccinations, but consider certainly having a policy around COVID vaccinations. Secondly would be to consider safety policies in the workplace. Prior to COVID, most safety policies would have been around things like OSHA standards, like what happens if I drop, a filing cabinet on my foot at work. I have to file a workers' compensation claim. Is that up to OSHA standards? How the office was laid out, things like that. Now, safety standards are going to revolve more around contagious diseases, viruses. The stuff from COVID is going to have a big impact on workplace safety as it relates to transmissible sickness. So think about what are your safety policies around that in the office. It could be as simple as, we have a cleaning crew now every day rather than once a week. Or, again, sometimes if you're going to be in a meeting with close quarters and you're not vaccinated, maybe you have to wear a mask. Whatever those safety policies are, consider implementing some safety policies now with an eye toward transmissible diseases amongst your employees. All right, another employment policy that given current times and certainly should have always been in place for most employers are certain harassment and discrimination policies. If you don't have these in place, it's really important that you do. You may want to consider training for your team in terms of what constitutes harassment or discrimination in the workplace, and make sure your employees feel safe reporting these things and that you have a proper investigative procedure in place. You definitely want to have those policies in place sooner rather than later. Think about some confidentiality provisions for employees. We've had instances with clients in the past where employees are divulging information online, on social media. Now there's some questions sometimes as to whether your employees have rights to speak freely off of work time. But they definitely should not be ever revealing any type of confidential company information. So you can certainly hold them to a non-disclosure agreement in terms of information about your company, maybe private information they learn about you, your customers, your clients. Definitely not stuff you want employees repeating. So think about some confidentiality provisions if you don't have those in place already. Finally, think about a non-compete. If you don't have your employees under non-compete agreements, that may be something you do want to put them under in the future or for future employees. If you've ever had experiences where an employee has left and gone to work for someone else nearby, or is thinking about setting up their own business to compete with yours, a non-compete could prevent those things from happening. So those are the top employment policies we think you should consider implementing right now. If you need help with any of these, feel free to reach out to our office, Holmes Business Law PC, and our contact info is below. Thanks.